The wisest thing in the world is to cry out before you're hurt. It's no good to cry out after you're hurt, especially after you are mortally hurt. People talk about the impatience of the populace, but sound historians know that most tyrannies have been possible because men moved too late. It is often essential to resist a tyranny before it exists. G.K. Chesterton. What is going on, everybody? My name is Logan, and welcome back to the Conservation Project, the podcast for the average Joe that still believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that we are still one nation under God. Today is going to be a different episode than normal. It's actually going to be relatively similar to the Virginia governor's race episode. What I mean by that is this episode, I have decided, is going to be all about the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Now, this is going to be a little less formally prepared than I normally do things. It's going to be a lot more freelance, and the reason being is that this is an actively developing scenario, and I have all sorts of stuff on this right now. I actually have the live video or the live feed pulled up, and frankly, as of right now, it is almost 2:30 Central Time. About, about 2 hours ago, the jury took a break for lunch, but we are going to go over all sorts of things. So there's just so much happening here. And I want to cover a couple of these charges before we really start getting into things, and if anything comes up in the trial, if the jury comes up, whatever it may be, we're just gonna go straight into it. That being said, for right now, before we get into it, I do just want to give this quick little shout out, this quick little pitch. In all of the descriptions for all of the episodes I post and everything, you will find all of my personal socials and everything. Facebook, I think Facebook's on there. Anyways, Instagram, Twitter. Go follow. Come say hi. Tell me how you're liking the podcast. All that good stuff. Just come interact. We can throw on questions or whatever if you want to be on it. Just hit me up. I really want to have the chance to connect with the people that are actually listening. So, jumping straight into this, it is a lot to unpack. So I want to start with why I have chosen to discuss this for a full-length episode. This has actually become a very personal connection for me, as far as the situation itself. So as of when this happened, he was a 17-year-old boy. He is a young man. And this was August 25th, 2020, in the middle of a lot of civic unrest. It was during the BLM riots. And I need to give this some sort of preface, because this is going to be a very blunt episode. I mean, this is going to. I'm not going to pull punches on this, and here's the thing. This trial sets a precedent for all of us who believe and stand for the Constitution, specifically the Second Amendment, the right to protect yourself, the right to defend yourself. And now hold on, now wait, because I know there's somebody out there who has a completely different perception of what the Second Amendment means. That's fine. You can disagree with me all day long. You're wrong. Bold statement, I know. I realize. I know what I'm saying. It's a bold statement. You're wrong. If you think that this boy, this young man, should be convicted on the grounds of homicide for protecting his own life, there's two things. You are so blatantly stuck in your own perception of things, that you believe that this is not self-defense, or two, you are so willfully ignorant to completely ignore the entirety of how our judicial system works. Because I have been watching this day in and day out. I have been watching reviews, everything, going back and rewatching aspects of this. If you try to blame it on the judge, it's ignorance. The bias, really? You're going to sit here and tell me that the prosecution has brought enough evidence to convict him of these charges. That's patently untrue. It just is. Or the bias of the judge. Is this really what we're doing right now? I just can't buy into it. Here's the thing. First charge. It was the first count. First count was, let me see, first-degree reckless homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. This felony charge is connected to the death of Joseph Rosenbaum. Now, you've heard his name come up a lot in this, and the bystander video shows Rosenbaum chasing Rittenhouse through a parking lot, throwing a plastic bag at him, which the prosecution attempted to say that bag was full of toiletries. And the prosecution also said it was clear toiletries, which is actually hilarious to me when you pull up that segment of that clip. That was amazing. Anyways, Rittenhouse then flees behind a car and Rosenbaum follows. The video introduced at trial shows Rittenhouse wheeling around and firing as Rosenbaum chased him. And then, of course, Richie McGinnis, a reporter who was trailing Rittenhouse, testified that Rosenbaum did, in fact, lunge for Rittenhouse's gun. So here's the thing. I want to also say this. Be very careful when you're looking this stuff up, because this is getting, well, frankly, this is nothing more than political. I'm very glad that the defense is actually saying that this is political, because it's freaking political. And this is the problem with this. This is why I have such an issue with what we're hearing. It is disgusting to me. And what really gets to me is, and I'm sorry to be this way. I genuinely am sorry to be this way, and I don't like pointing fingers, especially when it's political. But I blame the left. I listen, I am not one to publicly just say, this is their fault. But when you openly play with a kid's life, a young man's life, and you post things like what Slate.com is posting, when everything is self-defense and everyone gets a gun. This is propaganda. This is yellow journalism. There is no other way to cut this. You have lost all relevance when you do things like this. If you take the way our judicial system is designed and you spit on it, unapologetically spit on it, because that's what's happening right now. That's the reason this case has gone on. That's the reason this case exists in the first place. And then what do? You get the B team, the prosecution B team, against a defense that doesn't even have to try. Much less of, regardless of whatever the prosecution brings up, every piece of evidence factually supports what happened. And that what happened is blatant self-defense. And this is why I have a problem with this. This sets a horrible precedent for the concealed carry, open carry. It doesn't matter. Those of us who actually like to exercise our open 2A rights. It doesn't matter if you live in a state that has full protection of it. It's the public image. You know, I had a conversation with my girlfriend earlier today talking about this, and she was kind of working me through this whole thing and my worries of it, because this has been heavy on my mind. Because it just, for somebody who is as passionate about the 2A community as I am, for this to receive such attention, and then seeing the backlash from places like CNN, from MSNBC, all of these places that are just, they don't care. They don't care about our Constitution at all, whatsoever. And then you take a 17-year-old, now 18-year-old kid who was openly giving medical treatment, who was asked to defend these people's property. This argument that bringing a gun to a fist fight is the most half-baked thing I have ever heard, not just in a trial, but in general. You cannot possibly bring that argument up to a situation such as this. And apart from just justifying it, I don't know how you make that connection. I got an article from Slate.com that I really want to read. Like, I genuinely want to read. I'm going to wait till... we're going to go through the rest of these counts. Count 2 was first-degree recklessly endangering safety. And like I said, we're gonna circle back through this. Like I said, this is a very free-form episode, and these are things we need to talk about. But let me get through these counts first. So, like I said, count 2, first-degree recklessly endangering safety. Every single one of these has use of a dangerous weapon. This count 2 was this felony charge is connected to the Rosenbaum shooting. McGinnis told investigators he was in the line of fire when Rittenhouse shot Rosenbaum. Okay. They've already proven that this is still in the case of self-defense, essentially nullifying the entire prosecution's case when it comes to this. But okay, count 3, first-degree recklessly endangering safety. The video shows an unknown man leaping at Rittenhouse, trying to kick him seconds before Anthony Huber moves his skateboard towards him. Rittenhouse appears to fire 2 rounds at the man, but apparently misses as the man runs away. Again, self-defense. Count 4, first-degree intentional homicide, use of a dangerous weapon. This is connected to Huber's death. This video shows Rittenhouse running down the street after shooting Rosenbaum when he falls to the street. Huber leaps at him and swings a skateboard at his head and neck and tries to grab Rittenhouse's gun before Rittenhouse fires. The criminal complaint alleges Rittenhouse aimed the weapon at Huber. It's because he aimed the weapon in defense. Why is this a conversation? Intentional homicide means that a person killed someone and meant to do it. It was said that if Rittenhouse pointed the gun at Huber and pulled the trigger, that would amount to intentional homicide. However, self-defense would trump the charge. You know, like it's supposed to, because that's how laws work. Anyways, this count carries a mandatory life sentence. The weapons modifier adds up to 5 years, so that really doesn't matter. Because, again, they've already proven that this is in self-defense. I'm going to circle back on that because I've got something I got to say about that. Count 5, attempted first-degree intentional homicide. And this is the charge for shooting Gage Grosskreutz. I still don't know how to pronounce his name. I've not heard a single person pronounce his name the same way twice. Gage Grosskreutz is what I'm going with. Grosskreutz. That is a tongue twister. Okay. The guy came at him with a pistol. He lied to the cops and then, under oath, said he intentionally aimed at him. From what I've heard, he's being prosecuted following this trial for this. Count 6, possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. Okay. This is the main one and the last one that we're really going to talk about. So, Rittenhouse was armed with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle. He was 17 years old on the night of the shootings. Wisconsin law prohibits minors from possessing firearms except for hunting. It is not clear on Friday what Schroeder intends to tell jurors about that charge. This charge is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to 9 months behind bars. So, I want to break this one down because this one has been dropped. They have dismissed this charge. Here is the reason. This is the actual reason. So, Wisconsin law says for a minor, specifically, in this case, he is a minor with a rifle. Wisconsin law is very specific to this particular charge. This charge was designed to combat gangs. It was gang from top to bottom, regardless of age. Specifically, as the law states, short-barreled weaponry. It was specifically designed for short-barrel shotguns, sawed-off shotguns. This was a gang thing in that area at that time. This, I believe, was in the 90s when this was passed by a Republican. And if you've watched it, they actually go in and they get a tape measure and measure the barrel length and the overall length, both of which of Rittenhouse's firearm, his AR-15, both of which come in far beyond that case, that charge, because that charge specifically says short barrel. So for those of you in the gun community, an SBR, short barrel rifle, your 8 to 10 inch range, that would be considered, if he had been wielding that, he would absolutely be charged for this. 100%. There's no doubt. However, Wisconsin law has it different. Law's the law. And this is where things start to get me, because people are blatantly disregarding the law. Well, he should have been blah, 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 blah. This started because of Jacob Blake, a black man who was shot by police officers, who had a warrant for his arrest, who actively fought the police after a rape charge. That's why they were there in the first place, because his ex-girlfriend attested to him trying digitally raping her, as he said, or as she said, and a myriad of other things, and then fought back the police with a knife. And BLM, one of the biggest terrorist organizations in this country, you want to talk about insurrection, it wasn't January 6th, it is BLM. Don't get it twisted, Black lives absolutely matter. Lives matter. But when you do what BLM is doing and you're actively calling riots and destruction protests, they're not protests. You've lost the right to peaceful protest when it's not a peaceful protest. You're burning things. You're destroying businesses. You're destroying lives. That's terrorism. That's not protesting. This stemmed from the Jacob Blake protest where he was shot and paralyzed. He was not killed. He was paralyzed. And they're saying he hasn't received the proper justice. Then what followed was the August 25th, 2020 incident, and riots took place. Kyle Rittenhouse was seen helping the people, even the rioters. Just so we're clear here, even the rioters, giving medical aid, giving help, because he was there to protect life. He said this. It's absolutely despicable to me that we are in a position where we can slap a title on, such as Black Lives Matter, which at face value, absolutely. This isn't a question. Of course Black Lives Matter. My life doesn't matter any more than a black person's because of my skin. That's not a thing. Now, I'm sure there are horrible people that absolutely believe that. They'll see their judgment, but where I stand, I will not see judgment at the end of my life because I proclaimed that someone of another skin color was worth less than me. But I'm also not about to slap a title on an ambiguous push in social media so I can get my way. And that's what you're seeing here. And let's take this a step further. I mentioned that Slate.com article. This gets me. When everything is self-defense and everyone gets a gun. And I'm reading this verbatim. I had to take a drink for that one because this is... Tell me if you can find the BS in this article. The jury is in The jury in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial has begun its deliberations. As we wait, it is worth acknowledging that this trial has come to stand for what may well be the future of criminal defense law in America. Put aside the tactical errors of the prosecutors, you mean the fact that they didn't bring any evidence, and the trial antics of a flamboyant judge, and even the radicalization of the vigilante right. Oh my God. What is left is a snapshot of what will happen every time jurors contemplate how guns, protests, and hair-trigger self-defense combine in public spaces. And it looks very much like a passing judgment over a shootout at the OK Corral. My God. I have never heard anything. Listen, the left writes some pretty egregious articles. But Delia Lithwick, the woman who wrote this, she deserves to be taken to task for this, because she goes on to say each of the three trials dominating the news this month features armed citizens taking up weapons to travel to public spaces where they believe themselves to be under threat. As New York Times Shyla Doohan traced this past weekend in the trial of the three killers of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia and the Rittenhouse trial in Wisconsin, the defendants claim that they were justified in their use of violence when they killed unarmed people in self-defense. In both prosecutions, she writes, quote, the defendants claim that they were entitled to start shooting because the victims were trying to take their guns. White supremacists currently facing a civil trial in Charlottesville, Virginia for harming others at a Nazi-style rally in 2017 are offering similar defenses. This woman has the gall. And here's the thing. This is why I get so heated about this. I know people personally who actually believe in this garbage that I'm sitting here regurgitating to you into this microphone. They actually have the gall to equate lawful, law-abiding, good citizens on the same level as Nazis. Just to clear the air here, there are people in our southern community, in my southern community, in general, that actually believe that if you observe the right to defend yourself, even if somebody's unarmed, because they can still kill you if they're unarmed, that you, therefore, are a Nazi. Don't get it twisted here. This is not about the guns. This is about you. Keep this very clearly in mind. This is about you. You can't control yourself, so they're going to do it for you. They go on to completely disregard the stand your ground. My Lord, they bring up citizens' arrest statutes. I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting. And like I said, there are people that I know, there are people in your community that believe this exact thing, that you defending yourself makes you a horrible person, that makes you a Nazi. If you believe this, you're in the wrong. You're on the wrong side of history. Let me be very clear. Make no bones about this. You are wrong. And if you hear this and this offends you, good. Because you need that. You need to hear that. If somebody comes at you and yours, and you do not have the guts to protect them, I don't care if it's a fist. I don't care if it's a skateboard to the head and neck. I don't care if it's a bat, a machete, a dagger, a gun, I don't care. If somebody comes at you threatening your life or your family's life, are you really going to turn and run? If your fight or flight says run, there's nothing wrong with that. If your fight or flight deems that you and your family are not worth protecting because you don't like guns, you're part of the problem. There are no questions in this. This is a very cut and dry thing. You're part of the problem. Just because you don't like the Second Amendment, just because you think it's antiquated, it doesn't matter. Your case does not matter. Your opinion does not stand. Facts genuinely do not care whatsoever about how you feel about them. They don't. This trial is proof of it. It matters not what you think at all. This person acted in self-defense. Somebody came up and tried to hit them over the head with a skateboard. That will kill. Nobody deserves to die. But if somebody is threatening to kill you and you respond with lethal force, you've done nothing wrong. Now, that's going to be a burden on your head for the rest of your life. Look at the way he broke down. And if you're one of the people that says, oh, the way he broke down was nothing but theater. He was 17, now 18 years old. If I was put on this stand at that age, I would have done the same freaking thing. This trial disgusts me. But the trial itself is not the most disgusting part. It's the people that are with the prosecution. The people that are so blatantly disregarding all facts of this case, all evidence of this case, and letting pure, unbridled hate determine their thinking and justify that thinking. It is pathetic. And what do you get? It doesn't just affect Rittenhouse. It's affecting the judge, too. We're about to read about that. We're about to discuss that. It affects the judge, too. But you have to go throughout your life and deal with people. And our society is pushing sides more and more and more and more and more. And there's more division. There's more distinction between left and right. There's more distinction between pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-choice, pro-life. These are hard set lines in the sand now. And the thing is, this hits me personally because I see people who I have known for years posting about this, saying things, tweeting, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it may be, YouTube. These people that I know personally defending what the prosecution is saying because it has to do with guns. He should have died for that? He should have just ran? He should have ran when Grosskreutz ran up to him with a pistol in his face and even admitted to drawing it on him? He shouldn't have shot? Really? These people vote. Voting is the minimum. I believe we've discussed that before. It's the craziest thing. This is despicable. And it genuinely breaks my heart because I'm seeing people I once knew and loved saying that this kid should have died for the same reasons that I stand for personal carry, concealed carry, lawful carry. Now, I'm sorry. I don't mean to jump to conclusions, but last time I checked, 1 + 1 still equals 2. And Common Core hasn't quite destroyed that aspect, so I can only be left with the reasoning to believe that these same people would want me dead in this same position. Now, it's a little boomery. I realize what I'm saying, but it's a little weird still hearing the I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6. Here's the thing. Rittenhouse right now is being tried by 12 because he chose not to be carried by 6. Just so we're on the same page here. This is the situation. The kid defended himself. And last I checked, the same people who are bashing Rittenhouse for his use of firearms, who would bash me for owning firearms, who would bash my family, my friends, my loved ones for owning firearms, for carrying those firearms. These are the same people that called riots peaceful protests were actually inciting violence. They don't care about anything economically speaking when it comes to their voting. I think that's been made very clear. So what's left? I believe we've talked about this whole thing where you have to stand for what you believe in. Because here we are. I just, this factual delinquency that we have here with especially the people on the left, I mean, it is, it breaks my heart. Let me see if I can pull this up. CNN really hit the nail on the head with this. I wonder if they've taken it down yet. Because they ought to. I think they have. Yeah, I think they have. CNN had an article that was literally everything that I'm discussing right now. I mean, to generalize, it was talking about, how protecting yourself is should be taken away. The right to protect yourself. It was complete garbage. I mean, it was nonsense. Looks like they've gotten enough feedback to actually have it taken down. Thank the Lord. I read this earlier. Since the prosecutor in the Rittenhouse case used the line, "He brought a gun to a fist fight," I thought it was an appropriate time to remind you that more people more people are murdered with fists than they are with AR-15s. It's true. You can look that up. The people that are going to be offended by me saying that are the exact same ones that have not looked it up and will doctor responses. Make no mistake by that. But where does this lead to? Well, we've discussed how it leads to friends and family. Has anybody checked on this judge? Because this came out today. So the Rittenhouse judge receives hundreds of vile messages wishing, quote, most heinous homicide on his kids, and a threat against his own life. Multiple threats against his own life. Judge Bruce Schroeder, who's overseeing the homicide trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, has received hundreds of vile messages from detractors, a Daily Mail report outlined last week. Correspondence reportedly sent to the Kenosha County Courthouse and reviewed by the Daily Mail revealed threats against Schroeder's life, as well as his own children. A fax the courthouse received in October reads, quote, "This is outrageous. What fresh hell is this? Rittenhouse is a murderous thug, and trying to protect him says a lot about this judge." Presumably, the email came in reaction to the judge ruling in a pre-trial hearing for the case that prosecutors are barred from referring to the men shot by Rittenhouse as victims, while the defense team was permitted to refer to them as rioters and looters. They can provide evidence to back up the terms. As it turns out, they were rioters and they were looters, and they've proven that everyone that, both people that were killed, they were both rioters and looters. Rosenbaum and, what was his name? Huber? Yeah, Rosenbaum and Huber. They were both rioters and looters with an extensive criminal history, mind you, one of which was literally a child rapist, just so we're all on the same page. He continued to get things like, "We are watching. Enjoy your term, Judge. It's going to be your last. If I ever meet you in person, I fully intend to spit directly into your face, regardless the cost. You're disgusting." Another chilling message wishes, quote, "the most heinous homicide known to man" on Schroeder's children. Quote, one day hope his kids become victims to the most heinous homicide known to man, so he feels the pain, and we will not call his kids victims. It's just the most unbelievable thing. Another goes on to say, "Wow, way to name a white skinhead hothead to be a judge. No wonder they burned down your city. I didn't know that under your black robes of justice you wear a white robe of the Klan. There's no way a fair trial can be heard under your supervision. Better yet, resign." Again, these are the same people that will attack you and yours for defending your right to defend yourself. The fact that we have to have this conversation at all is horrible. I mean, and there's still no updates. I'm checking right now. There's still nothing. They have bashed this poor judge in the same manner that people that I continue to see bashing people like me, bashing people like you and I, the ones that are listening to this, the same ones that still want to conserve Christian conservative values. I never want to see anybody have to take a life. I genuinely, I mean that. But I don't understand how people can be so blatantly against protecting yourself. I can't believe that they want this kid to die. Claiming him to be a white supremacist. Really? This is a white supremacist. The only people he shot were white. It's just sad. I mean, it really breaks my heart. But as we mentioned, there's nothing going on right now. They're still deliberating. They have been since 10:15 this morning. And the crazy thing is how our administration is handling this. Aside from the fact that Jen Psaki is a complete and utter coward, and I mean that wholeheartedly. If you have not seen her address Peter Ducey's question on this matter, because it's, quote, an ongoing trial, the way she dodges this, you need to look it up. Because Joe Biden, our so-called president, has just called a 17-year-old, now 18-year-old, a white supremacist. He, in a trial, because of a trial that has in every way, shape, and form already been proven that that is not the case, that he was acting in self-defense, that the only people he shot were white. But no, he's still a white supremacist. Because people don't care enough to take the time and look things up. It's so ridiculously easy to take 4 seconds out of your day to Google this and realize that, this kid is not a white supremacist. And the same people that will call you these things are the exact same people who would never, under any circumstance, go out of their way to get off of their butts to protect life and property. The same way this 17-year-old kid did. And I'd be real willing to bet that these exact same people have a whole lot less medical training than this kid did. This kid doesn't have to be an EMT or an EMS. He put a tourniquet on somebody. How many people can say they actually know how to do this that are outside the military? Most people don't know basic medical. I was very blessed to be in a position previously where that was a requirement that I had to learn and had to be licensed on. Still carry that license. Never know when I'm going to need it. I still review it frequently. I have the entire packet, all the study material. I keep it in my bedside table because I find it necessary to frequently refresh on that kind of stuff. And here's the crazy part. It really doesn't take a paid training center to figure this stuff out. Do you know how many online resources there are for this stuff? And this kid at 17 years old risks life and limb to protect people. And he's even helping and providing medical to the same people that are trying to kill him. But we have people like the prosecution. The people completely ignoring first-year law. You don't have to have taken the bar. You don't have to have passed the bar to understand that you don't have to speak to the police immediately after an arrest. That is not admission of guilt. It's not. But again, these are the same people. And coming from the top down, Jen Psaki, this is a minute and 11 second. A minute and 11-second video that you can see posted. And she just shirks the question entirely. And she says it's because it's an ongoing trial. Here's something fun about that. Biden openly said it, that the administration had no problems commenting on the Chauvin case while it was still an ongoing trial. And to make that even better, if you really want to piss people off and have this conversation, let's do it. Because there wasn't enough under Chauvin's belt to actually charge him for the things that he was charged for, or to settle on the things that he was charged for. This, and the saddest part of this is there is so much evidence to prove Rittenhouse is not guilty that he is now, if he is acquitted, he's going to be in more, he and his family are going to be in more danger now or after than he was when he was in all of that on August 25th. This is the instability of the left right now is so mind-blowing. I cannot believe we have to have this conversation. We shouldn't. We should not. This kid did almost everything right. Thought they were going to pin him with the underage firearm. As it turns out, Wisconsin law doesn't matter. He was well within his legal rights. Man, this is the stuff that gets to me. And I know this was a very different episode. This is not something that I typically like doing, and I really don't like pointing fingers. But every article I look at, every post I see, every half-baked garbage that comes from the executive branch, not just in general, albeit in general, but specifically for this. And we have our president calling him a vigilante with an assault rifle. The man stumbles through half of sentences. He can't get through the first half. But he says vigilantes patrolling our communities with assault weapons? Are you kidding me? First of all, that's not what an assault weapon is. That's also not what a vigilante is. But these same people who voted for him and are standing for him are going to believe that these people are vigilantes with assault rifles. That's not what any of this means from a definitional sense. I don't understand the cognitive dissonance that it takes to put yourself in this position. Align yourself with this. Justify this completely inane thought process and go, yep, everybody else is wrong. Are they? Are they really wrong? Are we sure about that? I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. And this is why I have been harping so much lately on the fact that you have to stand up for what you believe in. Stop letting cancel culture win. Stop letting idiots who do not care at all about the law, at all about the Constitution, win. Because they're winning for the exact same reason that I opened this with as far as the quote goes. I'm going to read it again. The wisest thing in the world is to cry out before you're hurt. It's no good to cry out after you're hurt, especially after you're mortally hurt. People talk about the impatience of the populace, but sound historians know that most tyrannies have been possible because men moved too late. It is often essential to resist a tyranny before it exists. Chesterton was right. He was absolutely right. This whole case and this whole scenario breaks my heart on so many levels. It breaks my heart that this kid is having to go through this when all the evidence points to his innocence. It breaks my heart even further that there's a rash of fellow countrymen that want to see this kid jailed, hung, killed, insert here, regardless of the evidence. When in actuality, the majority of people could stand to be a lot more like Kyle Rittenhouse. And it blows my mind how this entire trial has just become a friggin' clown car. It started with something with Jacob Blake, who legitimately, legally deserved what he got. In the same way that Kyle Rittenhouse legitimately deserves to be acquitted because of the law, of which they both are now reaping the rewards of the law, just in different ways. Demanding justice for Jacob Blake? Are you serious? This is where this stuff is coming from. It's a friggin' clown car. It's a one thing after another just keeps popping out and popping out and popping out because there's nothing here that the media can actually narrow in on and make a justifiable case for the crap in the narrative that they're trying to push. And you know what the craziest part is? When I really started to dig into the trial right before it happened and started hearing, I'd mentioned I didn't want to talk about this a lot until I could do a full episode on it. And regardless of how this verdict comes out, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to do it before the verdict actually was announced, is the evidence is out there. The prosecution has given their case. The defense has given theirs. It really doesn't matter because the truth is what matters. And the truth is he deserves to be acquitted. Just as much as what happened to Jacob Blake was deserved. And then I started thinking about this because one of the reasons why this hit me so close and so hard is if something like that happened in my city, I would be hard-pressed not to want to defend my city. And that's what Kyle Rittenhouse did. Now, I refuse to make this 17, now 18-year-old kid like a martyr in this sense. That's not what I'm getting at all. I'm not idolizing this kid, but you got to understand that he did things that a lot of people aren't willing to do. And here's what I thought of. And this is what I'm going to end on. This particular verse came to mind. Isaiah 6:8. And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And then I said, "Here I am, send me." Now, this is very often mistaken for a hero complex. That's not at all what it is. That's not at all what it is. He exemplified John 15:13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends, for one's brothers. I'm not saying the kid should be praised for his decision to go out and put his life on the line, but I am saying that the kid should be praised for having the guts to put his life on the line. There's always smarter ways of doing things. You got to be smart about things like this. But all I could think of is what would happen if this happened in my neighborhood. Honestly. And I hope that regardless of the consequences, I would have the fortitude to say, here I am, send me. Whether I love my city, I love my family, I love my loved ones, they're dear to me, my friends, they're dear to me. And all I could think about is, what if this happened here, right here? And it's not a hero complex. It's responsibility. And look what happens when you're responsible, when you take responsibility, regardless of the outcome. You get demonized by the left. We've been seeing that a lot lately, haven't we? And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send, and who will go for us? And then I said, here I am, send me. The kid did a lot wrong. There was definitely some tactical and mental errors that he made. He was an immature 17-year-old kid that risked life and limb to go help friends and enemies. And in this case, it was legitimate enemies, because these people were rioting, looting, burning things, threatening death, racial slurs, etc. I can go on. And he went out in the middle of this with med kits, with his full medical kit, and armed for his defense, and then used his firearm in defense and continued to render aid. If that doesn't exemplify, here I am, send me, greater love has no one than this, that someone would lay down his life for his friends. I'm not saying idolize the kid, but a lot of us could learn from it. And that's it. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for listening. My name is Logan. This has been The Conservation Project, the podcast for the average Joe that still believes in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that most important part, that we're still one nation under God. Hope y'all have a good day.